This is a Hafco welding table, and today I'm going to see if it's really worth the money from a DIY point of view. The top is 1 metre wide, 750mm long, as well as 5mm thick. The top has 266 holes at 16mm diameter, and they are all spaced 50mm apart from each other. Now, all this does not come assembled like you see here, you have to do it yourself. So let's see how we get on. This welding table starts its life as bits of metal in a box, and when we lay out all the pieces, there's quite a few parts there. The assembly of the table gets underway by putting the metal ribs into the pre-cut slots. These will need to be welded on, but not before we use the assembly straps to hold the bits of metal down. We are a couple of steps in and we've already hit a problem. The instructions say to use the M10 to M12 bolts to hold the ribs down, but the only ones I could find were far too short. I called them up and it turns out you need to get your own bolts, and the bolts that were included are for bolting on the cast wheels, which aren't even included in the kit. So I tripped to the hardware store later and I got the ribs bolted on. When welding the ribs to the top, they do give you a certain order to weld them in, as you have to disperse the heat around the table to stop the warping. Now, if my welds were to win any kind of trophy, it would definitely be a participation trophy. They are not the best welds, but I did see an improvement as I went on because they really couldn't get any worse. The welder I'm using is a Unimig Viper 120 MIG welder, and I'm using flux core wire. Once all 31 tabs are welded on, the next step is to work on the base. Now I'm going to be using caster wheels, and I need to cut off the bottoms of the legs where the adjustment feet go. Cut these wherever you want, but do your measurements properly, as this will determine the final height of the table. I also bought this bandsaw with the welding table, and you'll get to see that in an upcoming video. I then grinded off the coating where the weld was going to go and set up the legs. They need to be set up correctly as they have threaded holes on the outside for some bracing. The bracing just bolts on, and luckily they were kind enough to supply the bolts for this step. As I went around and tightened them up, I just made sure everything was as level as I could get it. With the legs all welded on, I enlisted the help of the engine crane and lifted the table up enough just to slide the cast wheel plates underneath. I then got them aligned and welded them on all around the table before bolting on the wheels. I'm now going at the top with a fine grit flap disc just to knock back my welds a little as they prey at the surface. This will potentially ruin the flatness of the table, but as long as you don't hack at the top like an apprentice butcher, you should be okay. I also went around and knocked off the splatter from the welding with the flap disc, but I probably should have used a cold chisel for this, as it wouldn't have messed up the surface of the table. Alright, so the main construction of the welding table is done, and yes, I probably did make it a little high, but there's nothing wrong with a tall workbench anyway. Now, would I recommend this? Well, it's hard to say. If you're a good welder, sure, go for it, you'll smash it easy. But there is a lot of work to do to get it here. Like, you need to weld the entire top on, then weld the caster wheels on the bottom if you're going to do that. Then you need to actually weld the legs onto the frame, so there is a bit to do. Now, I didn't just buy this table on its own, it came with a kit, which includes all this stuff. Now what we've got here is some vice grip style clamps which bolt down to the table and clamp onto pieces just like that. We have some 4 angle welding magnets which have a bunch of different angles on it, as well as some 3 angle welding magnets right there. And then we also have these 4 set of clamps here, F-clamp style, which also get bolted down, and they also include a whole bunch of little spacers and all that sort of stuff over in a box over there. I also picked up a MIG torch holder which has a very good magnet on it, but this one's not included in the kit. Now I think what's really left to do is we just need to try it all out. I think we should weld something up. I've got some 30 by 30 by 2mm box section that we're going to make a welding cart from, but you'll see that in another project video. This is my first time using a welding table, and I've just got some magnets to make the 90-degree joints, and then I'll put a tape measure on each corner to make sure that's square. I then went around and attached a whole bunch of clamps just to hold it into place. Alright, so it's all clamped down and square, so now we're going to tack it all together first, followed by a full weld. Welding wire. This is the first rectangle I made for the welding cart, and you can see from my welds that a few of them turned out not too bad, but some turned out horrible. I'm currently building the welding cart as of this video's release, and it's still a work in progress, but you'll see a video on that very soon. So this is the welding table all set up. Yes, there is a fair bit of work that goes into it, but at the end of the day, it is a fully functioning welding table. It retails for $650, and that is what I paid, but I'd probably wait for a sale if you're interested in buying it. So I hope this video was helpful in showing the process that goes into assembling one of these tables, as well as what it's like to use it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.